All right, welcome back. We are now officially into our first full week of May. Hard to believe. These are just a few quick announcements before I get into your lessons for this week. So all assignments are due this week by Sunday, May 10th at 11:59 p.m. There are two graded assignments. The first, you're going to learn all about Chinese dynasties, and then watch a video, complete a reading and a slideshow. I'll show you that in a few minutes. And then the second, you'll learn more about the Silk Road. Again, watching a video clip, reading, and choosing 10 of the questions that I've posted to answer. I also will have some extension activities. Those are optional, but always something for you to take a look at. Nothing that's too crazy or extra work. Please make sure to check your PowerSchool often. Any assignment that is listed as a 0 can still be made up, and they can be made up for full credit. So make sure that you're getting your work done. If you have a question about anything at all, please contact me. Also, check your emails. Check them frequently, especially if you email me a question. And then be sure to check the comments in the Google Classroom on assignments, especially if you lose points. I will put a comment in as to why you lost points and how you can make up those missing points. So the first thing I want you to take your minds back to is what you did last week. The first part of last week, you learned about different achievements that the ancient Indians were known for. Everything from yoga to inoculations, which is essentially like a vaccine. The second part, you did a Pear Deck about Chinese geography. So really what I want to draw your attention to when it comes to China, okay? China today in 2020 is the most populous country in the world, meaning there's the most people living there. It's followed very closely by India, but China still has a bit more people. So when you were looking at the Pear Deck and you looked at this map of China, you should have noticed that the eastern side, especially the southeastern side of China, has the most people living there. It's very densely populated. In fact, if you look at the key, those blue areas, and of course now I can't see them, but the blue areas stand for more than 400. Let me see if I can see the key now. 400 people per square mile are living in those blue areas, or 400 people per square kilometer. That's still a lot of people living in one little area. Remember, a kilometer is smaller than a mile. The cities with the squares, those are cities where there is over 3 million people living in just a city. Keep in mind when we were doing stuff during the school year and I would have you Google up different populations so we could compare. The population in the city of Toledo, for example, is less than 300,000. So compare that to a city with over 3 million. So when you were doing the Pear Deck, you should have noticed and learned more about inner and outer China. So really the reason why so many people settle right here in China and the southeastern part of China is because of the geography. You've got your two major rivers and it's in a plain or a basin. So it's nice, pretty flat in a lot of it, fertile land, good for farming, good for settling. You have the Huanghe River, which is also known as the Yellow River, and the Shanyang River, which is also known as the Yangtze River. And this is where you're going to see civilization start in ancient China. There will be people that live in outer China, in the Taklamakan Desert, Tibetan Plateau, Gobi Desert, etc., but it's not going to be large populations of people. And when you were working through the Pear Deck, you should have seen how some of those people had adapted to learn to live in those types of environments. So you have a major civilization form in China near the rivers for the same reasons why people settled near the Indus in India, the Tigris and Euphrates in Mesopotamia, and the Nile in Egypt. There was that fresh water, fertile soil for farming, natural resources. They were routes for trade and transportation. They provided protection, among other things. So there were so many reasons why people would settle there. Now, China itself, the history of China is divided up kind of like the history of ancient Egypt. When we talked about ancient Egypt, we talked about dynasties. And historians grouped Egypt into 3 periods of dynasties. They also group China history into dynasties. So if you recall, a dynasty is a group of rulers from the same family. So when you see some of these names that we'll talk about, this means that the same family was in charge of China for a certain amount of years. So the first thing that you're going to do is you're going to read this document. Okay, there is some information about prehistoric China, and then you have the Z dynasty, the Shang dynasty, the Zhou dynasty. It's spelled with a Z, but it's pronounced Zhou. You're going to learn more about the Qin dynasty. And again, that's spelled with a Q, but it's pronounced Qin, and then the Han dynasty. So once you have read this document about the different dynasties, you're going to do a task similar to what we've done in the past. You're going to see a slideshow that's been posted for you. You're going to come to this slideshow titled Chinese Dynasties. The first thing that I want you to do, I actually want you to watch a video. I want you to use the honor system on this. I'm not going to make, it's not going to be graded for you to watch it, but this video is pretty informational about those dynasties. And then you're going to take information. It could be information from the video or mostly from this reading, and you're going to create a slideshow about the 5 major dynasties of ancient China. You're going to create a slide for each dynasty and include 2 to 3 facts about the dynasty, as well as a picture with website if you took the picture from an outside website. You can change the background and the font, but when you're finished with the slideshow, please make sure that you're submitting it in the Google Classroom. So you'll already see a blank slide for the Z dynasty, the Shang, the Zhou, the Qin, and the Han. Again, 2 to 3 facts, a picture, include the website. When you're finished with this, you'll submit it, and then you'll move on to the second graded assignment. So something that the Chinese were very well known for, they developed something called the Silk Road. So the Silk Road was not a road made of silk. It was actually a network of trade routes that reached all the way from Eastern China to the Mediterranean Sea. So it allowed the Chinese to trade with people as far away as Italy. But this is where there started to be interaction with people in India and Mesopotamia and Egypt. So the first thing you're going to do with this document, you're going to watch a TED Ed video that's linked at the top. Again, that's being on the honor system. It's maybe 5 or 6 minutes long. So you're going to watch the TED Ed video. You're going to read through this document. Remember too, side note, you can always have these documents read aloud to you using our text-to-speech tools. And then when you get to the bottom, you're going to notice there are 15 questions. I want you to pick 10 of them, any 10, to answer. Once you have answered 10 of them, you're going to submit it into the Google Classroom. At that point, the graded part of your work is finished. I will kind of preview some of the extensions. This time, there's just some different websites. You can learn more about ancient Chinese writing, the Shang dynasty, that's when that started. There's an interactive timeline of the Chinese dynasties. There's a website, I'll show you this one in particular, where you can go to. It's an interactive Silk Road. It's pretty cool. It'll pull up. You can read through the introduction, click to begin your journey, and it's interactive. You can look at all of the different things. If we come here to this spot in China, it'll pull up more about this part in China and how it had an effect on the Silk Road and so on. So I encourage you just to take a look at these. It's not extra work. It's just building on that knowledge. So slideshow of ancient Chinese dynasties, Silk Road reading plus questions. Get those both submitted as soon as you're finished. And let me know if you have any questions. In the meantime, I hope you all have a wonderful week. I miss you all, and hope soon.